What's up, friend? Hector here from StrongestHec.com with this week's Movement Monday for the week. We're going to be progressing in the next part of the series of the 5 steps to better mobility. So we're going to be covering steps 3 and 4 today, which is phase 2 of this segment for the hips. So we're addressing the hips. So last week we talked about breathing, and then we went through the actual mobility, doing some leg scissors, and then from there going through some leg drops, and then finishing with the hip flexor stretch. Okay, so now we're going to be progressing to some static hold positions. So once you kind of mobilize the hips or whatever it is that you're trying to mobilize, whether it's shoulders, T-spine, hips, you know, everything like that, calves, whatever, you now need to start progressing towards loading it. So in order to lock in that correction, we want to make sure that we load it with weight, but you can't go straight into the load because you'll be missing a couple of pieces in between, and that's being able to basically statically control the position, the hips and everything, and then eventually dynamically doing it, and then eventually loading it up. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to cover a very basic way to statically kind of own this whole position, and that is from a very simple, like, half kneeling position. Okay, so from here we're going to be doing like some very basic stability. Okay, so once we mobilize, we got to make sure that we're able to stay stable in that position. Okay, so all we're going to do here is we're going to use this half kneeling position, and we're just going to hold it here. Now, a couple of things like we talked about in the hip flexor stretch: make sure the hips stay level. Okay, we don't want your hips hiking. Okay, you're going to be in a 90-90 position. Your back leg, let me turn this way, is going to remain pointed. Okay, plantar flexed. All right, so now one thing we don't want to do is we don't want to cheat, and we don't want to turn this foot in like this, because now you kind of create like a rudder, like kind of like a kickstand, to where you can cheat. You want your foot pointed straight. Okay, right away you'll feel a big stretch in the hip already, and hips stay level. You want pretty much a straight line from your head, shoulders, hips. All this is a one straight line. You don't want to be putting all your weight into your front leg. You want your weight pretty much centered over this knee. Okay, this down knee. Now, to challenge your stability, what you're going to do is you're going to start to narrow your stance. Okay, this is what's called a proprioceptively rich environment. Okay, so basically we're just kind of increasing the difficulty without having to put you on some kind of like stability ball. You've got those Bosu balls, you've got all kinds of crazy little gadgets you can use. You don't need that. Literally all you need to do is just narrow your base, and it's going to require your body to stabilize. Okay, so you'll find that initial position here, and then you're just going to have your hands up by the side. You're going to focus on your breathing, and you're now going to begin to narrow your stance. Once you kind of find that position where your body kind of starts to wobble, that's what you want. Okay, that is your body trying to figure out how to stabilize the pelvis through the midsection. Okay, and it's okay if you're a little shaky like I am right now. And you're going to hold this for about, let's say, 2.5 minutes, and then you'll switch sides. Keep your weight centered over this knee. And I'm not going to do this for 2.5 minutes because this will be boring for you, but you get the idea. Okay, literally I'm going to do this for 2.5 minutes on my own time. Once you get this, let's say you own this position, you're able to maintain this position for a few days. Let's say you do this every day. Okay, and again, to keep yourself honest, you want to make sure that you can lift this foot here. If you can lift this foot, like if you can pick your heel up like this, if you can tap the floor like this, you're doing it right. But if you can't raise this foot because your weight is on your leg, you're cheating. You got to back off, keep the weight into the down leg, hips stay square. I learned this from Gray Cook of FMS, and I was at an FMS workshop, I don't know, 2013, and he showed us this little drill to work on what he calls static motor control. Lit me up, man. Lit me up. Like I was strong everywhere else. The moment he put me in this position, it lit me up. All right, so you can trust that this is what the pros use. Okay, and every now and then tap to keep you honest. Okay, let's say you get this position and you're solid here and you're able to, like, boom, I got this, no problem. Next thing you'll want to do is we're going to challenge that position okay, proprioceptive rich environment. You're going to add halos, light kettlebell. Get into the position that you need to. Hips are level. Stay honest with yourself. Tap that foot. And you're going to begin to halo. I'm feeling this in my hip flexor big time. Glute, quad, all that. And then you go back and you'll do both sides about 5 times total. I'm probably using too heavy of a bell here. All right, I might need to get a lighter one. This is 16K. Ooh, man, I feel that in this whole hip here, quad. You're going to feel this down the hip flexor, everything like that, because you're trying to keep that hip in extension, okay? And it's working on stabilizers. You can't use your hamstrings to hold you up. Can't use your quad on that front leg to hold you up. If you are, you're keeping that weight in the front foot, okay? So literally, I'll just do the static hold here. Back foot is straight. Get in a good position, and just slowly move that foot over to where you start to lose your stability. Make sure the foot stays light, and you're going to own this position first before you move to any kind of weight, okay? I'm going to go down with that. I'm actually going to use a 12 kilo, maybe even have to go to a 10. The goal is not the weight. The goal is to challenge this position. So I'm staying static from the waist down, but I'm dynamic overhead, okay? So I'm moving overhead, but all this torso down to my hips needs to stay static, okay? I may actually just have to stay here body weight for maybe about a few sessions before I even think about progressing to that 10 or 12. All right? Whew, that's just smoking my hips right away. So that is the next step in the chain, okay? So once you've done some breathing, you've gone through some mobility work, you want to make sure you can statically hold the position. Once you can statically hold the position, now we can start moving to step 3. Step 4. Step 3 was statically holding. Step 4 is dynamically going through this and just kind of retraining your hips specific movements. We're going to use the deadlift pattern. All we're going to do is pattern the hip hinge. From there, your midsection, okay, as you sit forward, sit your hips back, your midsection will start to stabilize the trunk, stabilize your hips. And the goal is to just pattern this. At no point you're not lifting any weight right now. So I'm just going to use this same bell as a target. Okay, I stand over the top of the bell, and all I'm going to do here is lead with my hips first. I'm going to sit my hips back and touch the kettlebell. I'm not going to lift it up. And again, you want to make sure that you can sit your hips back. Okay, you're not rounding. See how when I round my hips, my pelvis, all that changes. I want to keep everything up. Here, lock your hips out. Sit back again. Keep your feet on the floor. You don't want your toes to come up. Grab the ground with your toes. Come up. And you're going to do this for about 15 to 20 reps. The reason why you want to do high reps on this is because you're retraining your brain. You're retraining the whole body to understand this is the behavior that you now want from your hips. Okay? You can sit back. You want to be able to sit back. And then right back up. All right? Sit back, right back up. That is steps 3 and 4 on 5 steps to better mobility for BJJ. Okay? So that's very simple today. That's all I got for you today. So always start this practice. Start always with breath. If you feel like you ever go backwards, let's say maybe you feel like, oh man, like my mobility got worse. Back up to breathing. Breathing's always kind of like that reset, kind of resets everything. Go back to breathing for 3 to 5 minutes. Go back to maybe doing the leg drop and the hip flexor stretch was too much. Maybe you didn't need the hip flexor stretch. Take that piece out and just do the leg dropping. Then progress to this static hold. Do the static hold, 2 minutes on each side. Then go through the dynamic movements, patterning the hip hinge. From there, and when you're done, do your toe touch again. If you feel like your toe touch got worse, repeat the whole thing, but do the breathing, reset, and sub it out for a couple different exercises. and there's several. Okay, I would recommend you go check out functionalmovement.com, the FMS website. You can even check out some of the other Movement Mondays in the GFM system that we cover, and that'll definitely help guide you in the right direction. So, any questions? Leave a comment below. If you're liking the videos, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you can stay up to date with all the latest Movement Mondays, Technique of the Weeks, Workout of the Week, all that good jive stuff. So that's all I got. Hector from strongastheck.com signing out with this week's Movement Monday for the week.